Welcome, everyone. Good morning. We're so happy to have you here at the Nonprofit Institute Conference. We are going to be talking about giving circles as vehicles for change. Let me share my screen. I just wanted to see first everyone because then it's kind of difficult to see everyone when you're sharing your screen. But I'm going to go ahead and share it. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so my name is Sara Lomelin. I am the Executive Director of Philanthropy Together. I'm currently in Palo Alto, California, and I'm here with my colleague, Taisha Wilson.
Hello, good morning. I am Ty. I am the Director of Engagement for Philanthropy Together and super excited to be here with you all today.
Yes, thank you, Ty. So we're delighted to be here with you this morning. And, I am going to go just over a little quickly through our agenda. We're going to have a welcome and opening, getting to know each other. We're going to be talking about people-powered philanthropy, have a couple of, interactive activities, and then we will give you some resources. So today we're going to examine the impact of giving circles as transformational vehicles of change and the impact they create within the nonprofit sector. So we're going to go over the following. How is philanthropy changing in the US? What is people-powered philanthropy? How is this field evolving? And what are giving circles? Why are they important and the impact they have within the nonprofit sector? Something very, important to mention. These are not fundraising circles, not fundraising circles. These are giving circles that will help the whole ecosystem of nonprofits. But definitely, I know we're in the development track, and yes, it can be a really important factor of your stewardship for donors, because Giving Circle members are individual donors. But definitely, we're going to have you hopefully after the end of this session, convinced of why are Giving Circles so important. But we want to wake everybody up this morning, and we're going to start deep. So through the lens of both your nonprofit professional hat and just your individual hat, we want you to answer these questions. So we are going to send you to a breakout room so you can share and dig deep. We're going to be there for about 10 minutes. Ty is dropping now in the chat a link to a Jamboard. I don't know if all of you have worked with Jamboards, but they're fun tool from Google. You use like little sticky notes, and we're going to help you there. So we're going to start brainstorming. What does it mean to be accountable to community? How do you center community in your work? Who holds power? How do you share power? Okay, so we'll see you in the breakout rooms. So we would love to hear from a couple of people about what we have in the Jamboard. And actually, you know what? Let me share the Jamboard because I'm sharing another screen.
It's so vibrant, full of good content.
Yeah, so can a couple of people, I need two brave souls to share a little bit. Who can do it?
Yeah.
Do we see a hand?
Lee, you were in our group. I'm going to call you out, brother. How about you share, if you don't mind?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. And thank you, Lee.
Okay, so I'll just kind of summarize. There's a few things that were kind of recurring. So I'll just give a few. Do you want me to just give a few quick points in the three questions we had?
Yeah.
Okay, so broken down into three questions. Who holds the power? The people was one that came up often. Funding stakeholders, funders, the large nonprofits, and CEOs were a lot of the common ones that came across. How do you center community in your work? Sharing resources and knowledge, allowing involvement by the community with surveys and assessments and data, creating relationships in communities. And then how do you share power? Collaboration and accountability, sharing resources, sharing experiences, supporting based organizations, And yeah, those are pretty much the common ones. So those were the ones that kind of appeared most often within our Jamboard.
Thank you, Lee. We love seeing the responses because everybody talked about collaboration, the people, et cetera, et cetera. So we are going to be talking about this philanthropic movement, that it's people power, and how all of you can collaborate to create this ecosystem that will be helpful for everyone. Okay, so let's get started. Go, Taisha. We need to just, save those minutes that we lost here.
Absolutely, I'll zoom through. So yes, when we talk about people power philanthropy, giving circles are just that. A giving circle takes your mind, your talents, and financial ability seriously. It makes a collaborative social experience, So they create caring, generous communities of people who act very intentionally and thoughtfully and strategically together towards change. And so it's really impossible for me to get across what a giving circle is in one slide, because they are all about the people, all about community and fun. And so I just wanted to share my personal testimony. I am a member of a giving circle that's based here out of Dallas, Texas. We are it's called Heritage Giving Fund. And Heritage, it was established in 2017 during Black Philanthropy Month by 3 of our founders who are all nonprofit professionals like you all, who saw a need after working in the development space, the fundraising side of within the nonprofit sector. They saw a need to that Black women-led nonprofit organizations needed help in terms of the support and funding. And so Heritage was birthed out of a need to support those small grassroots nonprofit organizations that operate within the Dallas area that are led by Black women who serve Black women and girls. And so within Heritage, I found my community. This was my first experience with a giving circle, but the village and the commonality that develops with this group of women has really changed my trajectory forever in terms of how I view philanthropy and how I connect with my community. And just, being completely transparent and honest, for Black women, oftentimes, are seen as a stereotype in the world of philanthropy, as recipients of philanthropy and not so much philanthropists, when we know that we often give to our churches and volunteer and serve on boards and do all of these great things. So to join Heritage for me meant me claiming that title as a philanthropist and finding my village of just bold women who are just as ambitious and passionate about serving the community and giving back in a financially and in other ways as well. So there's a couple of pictures of me and my crew. And Sarah, why don't you share a little bit about your giving circle?
Yeah, so similarly as Taisha, as a Latina, we're often seen as recipients of philanthropy and not as philanthropists ourselves. So when I started my first giving circle back in 2007, I was also living in Dallas, Texas. I didn't even know what a giving circle was. And what we wanted was, I had a group of friends from Mexico and Venezuela, Latin America, that we have been living in the US for many years. And I said, we're not here on a vacation trip anymore. Here is a country where our children are, going to school, where, where we're building our lives. And if we don't support our community, then who? We need to get, some skin in the game, and we need to support our local nonprofits that are serving our community. And that's how, we started this little giving circle that, in the past 13 years has grown so much. But I want to pass it back to Taisha so you can tell us what are the pieces that you need to have a giving circle.
Indeed. Thank you, Sarah. So there's 5 components of a giving circle. First, you have to have the people, right? And so at first, you can't have a giving circle without people. The power is to the people, and that's exactly what a giving circle is a group collaborating for change. And so at the end of the day, it's about building community and having fun. So that's the first step, is you gather. The second step is, once the people gather, they discuss. They get together, they share hearts, they share passion, they connect and network and learn together about issues taking place within their community, about the community needs, about philanthropy, and so many other things, their values. And they engage in learning so that they can discuss the issues that matter to them. Then they decide. That's the third step. The giving circle collectively decides where their money should go. And this is based off their values, like what they, in the case of Heritage, you know, our passion was Black women. And so the organizations that we decided to fund were organizations that support Black women and girls. And so this is a very democratic decision and decision-making process. It's very unique and a powerful experience in that they decide together where their time, talent, and treasure will go. And then the fourth step, is that once they decide on the organizations, they then pool their dollars together. And they might also raise like additional funds that they donate in addition to like their fees. Oftentimes, giving circles, they'll have levels. For instance, in our giving circle, our levels start at 500 and go up to 1,000. And so you have some giving circles that have $10 membership fee. So they pull those funds together and then allocate out the funding to support the organization that matter to them. And then lastly, this is actually, in my opinion, one of the most important steps, is that they engage. It's not just one-time gifts. Giving circles are very powerful in that they can become, these are your potential board members. These are your, it's a pipeline of donors and advocates and champions for your organizations. They'll help you spread the word, fundraise, offer pro bono support. A lot of times, even for our giving circle, that's how we support some of the grantees that we have. This is about true partnership. And the end result is impact multiplied by the power of the group. The more dollars that they raise, the stronger the community and the bigger the change. And so giving circles are the epitome of people power philanthropy.
Thank you, Ty.
Yeah. Question in the chat was asked, what was the second step? Some people are signing back in from their issues, and I'd like to know what the step was.
I went back. Here it is, the second step.
Oh no, people are...
Don't worry, the second step is discuss. They talk about, you know, their values and the issue area that they care about, and they, you know, they decide on their common vision, and, you know, they come together with the values as a group and the issue area that they care about. And don't worry, because the whole presentation will be left in the platform for you as a PDF. So don't worry about that. Okay, I'm going to move us along, and I'm going to show you some like specific examples of different giving circles across the country, right? So this one, for example, Latinos in Tech Giving Circle is in California, right? And it's made out of young people, mostly young people that are working in different tech companies. The commonality is that all of them are Latinos, and their issue area is increasing diversity in the tech industry and STEM programs for Latino youth in California. This particular giving circle, everybody gives at least $1,000 a year, but the great thing is that most of them get matching dollars from their employer. Something that is super important for this giving circle is how do they open doors to their nonprofit partners? You know, you would think like the regular grant may be $15,000 to $20,000 going to a nonprofit, but that is not the main benefit. You know, these people are opening the doors for Google, for Visa, for Facebook, for nonprofits to take, you know, their middle schoolers in an after school program there to really, you know, show Latino kids, African American kids, that there are people that look like them working in these companies. And as you know, the role model, it can do wonders for young people. Here's another example of a very different giving circle. This is Rat Fund in New York. And this is all based around social justice. It's a small giving circle, group of friends. They have a very unique funding model, very based in equity. So they don't have a specific membership fee. They give at least 1% of their income and 0.1% of their wealth annually. So imagine the trust that goes and the transparency that it's going on here, right? Like people are saying, you know, this is how much money I make a year, and this is what I'm, you know, giving to the giving circle. Then we have Dining for Women. Dining for Women is a huge network of giving circles across the US. They have close to 450 chapters across the US. It's all about supporting women and girls, and they give internationally. So they don't fund anything in the US, they do everything internationally. Here's another giving circle. The Asian Women Giving Circle is also based in New York. And the difference here is that they support not only nonprofits, but they support artists and activists. So here you have another model that they're giving to specific individuals. And they want to, you know, support mostly Asian women. Then we have another one from EPIP, Emerging Practitioners in Philanthropy. They're based in LA. They support LA nonprofit organizations with an operating budget of under $1 million. This is really important to mention here. You know, one of the beauties of Giving Circle is how they can give visibility to small grassroots nonprofits. How many times Giving Circles come to close the gap of funding for a lot of these nonprofits, because most giving circles give unrestricted monies. And, you know, in Philanthropy Together and with the trainings that we do, we really try to push people to give unrestricted grants. So they can be, you know, the giving circles can play a big role in supporting those programs that you have, you know, trouble funding for. But then, you know, there was a question in the Q&A that I love. You know, what is the difference, right, between giving circles and the other different ways of, you know, collective giving, like fundraising societies, crowdfunding, mutual aid, giving days, issue funds. So fundraising societies, you know, are when nonprofits get a group of people to fundraise for that nonprofit, you know, on that nonprofit behalf. So this is a donor circle for a nonprofit, right? A fundraising society. You get a group of your board members or your individual donors, and they're going to fundraise with their friends to support your particular nonprofit. Crowdfunding, there is, you know, you go online, you give a donation. A lot of the times you don't even know what to give to. You just did it because a friend of yours asked you to give, but there is no learning, there is no interaction. Mutual societies, we have seen it a lot, you know, now with COVID. Giving days, you know, Giving Tuesday is a perfect example. And then issue funds, you know, when there is like a portfolio of nonprofits that, for example, a community foundation puts in front of some donors. So the difference with the Giving Circle is the Giving Circle, the decision is democratic. You have the whole group deciding what you want to fund. You have a learning about the issues, right? That's one very important way to involve people, is to bring experts to really educate people about the issues that the community is facing. So, you know, what all these giving circles do is changing the narrative that everybody can be a philanthropist. Taisha was telling you about, you know, her experience as a Black woman. I am telling you as a Latina woman, the most important thing here is do not make assumptions, right? Someone put in the Jamboard, right? Give voice to others, integrate those voices.
Yes.
Like there, you know, integrate the voices of your community, not as a token, not only as a recipient, but involve people as givers, as philanthropists. So as long as individuals, you know, are giving their time, their talent, their treasure to support the causes you're passionate about, they are philanthropists. So I'm going to talk really quickly about, us, and we're here to support you all along. We officially launched to the public in April 2020 as a global initiative to support the collective giving field. Our vision is a world full of passionate, empowered, diverse individuals giving collectively. And our mission is to democratize and diversify philanthropy through the power of giving circles. Again, there are many, many voices in this world that have not been recognized as philanthropists. And it's time, for all of us, and especially, for you as nonprofit leaders, to recognize the power that your own community has. So I'm going to pass it to Ty to talk about the growing movement, how this started, and then we're going to go into the nitty-gritty.
Yes, Sarah, thank you. The landscape of philanthropy is changing, everyone, and giving circles will continue to play a transformational role with diversifying the space to include more youth, people of color, those without wealth, women, and just many, many more that have just traditionally not been viewed as philanthropists. And so that you just can have a better context about what giving circles are, we'll just kind of talk about the movement, because as they say, right, you need to kind of know where you're going. You have to understand where you've been. So the collective giving is not new. It is not American. It's rooted in cultures across the globe for many decades. And so actually there are collective giving efforts all over the world and all over the globe, and they have different names. The collective giving movement began in the early 80s. And the last decade, we saw a tripling of circles to over 1,600 circles upon last count and counting. The goal is for us to start new giving circles every day. The networks of giving circles with a common affinity begin to form to provide resources and connections. We'll definitely share a link so that you all can kind of see, we have it housed within our Philanthropy Together website, a group of networks, and they're awesome and are a good resource. So more than a dozen of networks exist today with giving circles in multiple networks. We have networks that are focused on women, that are specific to race or ethnicity, youth, faith, cross race, just a very specific circle model. So the networks vary and are far and wide for the giving circles. And there are hundreds of more giving circles that exist across the country beyond these networks. They're not all housed within giving circle networks. There are many independent, grassroots, small giving circles, and more are starting every single day. And altogether, over the past about 2 decades, American giving circles specifically have engaged at least 150,000 people and have given away as much as $1.29 billion. That is huge in terms of our impact, collective impact, and just the field of just development and philanthropy altogether. So big difference. And new circles started in the past 5 years are more diverse than ever, which is just amazing. And the movement is going global, which we're very excited about. And Sarah, that's exactly how our Philanthropy Together was launched. And you share our story of how we started and what our focus is in terms of propelling the moving forward to creating hundreds of more giving circles and to support the ones that are existing so that they can continue to thrive.
Thank you, Ty. This is, what Ty said, we're here with bold goals. She talked about, what has been happening in the last 20 years. With Philanthropy Together in the next 5 years, we want to reach to 3,000 giving circles, involve 350,000 individuals to give away $1 billion more into the communities. The beauty of giving circles, again, is that this is new money. You are not competing with, corporate money, with foundation money. This is money coming from individuals. It's just a matter of, catalyze those individuals. I'm going to tell you a quick anecdote. There is many of these women's giving circles that, before the pandemic, the beauty of giving circles is also this warm, getting together, sharing a glass of wine, sitting, sharing a meal. And then suddenly, the pandemic comes and it's like, what do we do? So all the giving circles had to just jump on Zoom, right? And with something as simple, a network of giving circles said, hey, we don't have any money because the majority of these giving circles are volunteer run. Would you pay for a Zoom account? And we said, of course, we'll pay for your Zoom account. So we're paying for this Zoom account, that it costs, I think, like $50 a month because they're a big group. Thanks to us paying for the $50 a month Zoom account, $4 million weren't left at the table because these giving circles from this network were able to still meet over Zoom and keep giving the money away. Giving circles are extremely nimble, flexible, fast to act. We saw so many giving circles that, by mid-April, they were already mobilizing money to support their nonprofit partners that were affected by COVID. So I'm just going to, because I know a lot of you love data. I love data too. This is how philanthropy looks today. Looks like the America of 25 years ago. And talking about, again, like not making assumptions, right? This does not suggest that, whites are more generous than other racial and ethnic groups. The analysis of the data shows that factors such as income, religious engagement are far more significant predictors of giving behavior than race of ethnicity. The underrepresentation of African Americans and Hispanics in organized philanthropy is that, organized philanthropy is not doing an adequate job of engaging non-white communities. For instance, African communities and Latino donors say that they are solicited less frequently. A lot of the people that joined Giving Circle said, you're the first person to ever ask. I have never been asked before. So here is tip number one, ask. Never assume who can give and who cannot give. They suggest, the data suggests that they would give more if they were asked more often. So, the goal for you as fundraiser and nonprofit leaders is you need to meet donors where they are, right? And the Giving Circle model for a lot of people is the first door into philanthropy. Why? Because it's fun, it's engaging, it's social, it's collaborative. So I'm going to talk about, the impact of a Giving Circle. So there is many things going on in our society right now. We have isolation, we have polarization, we have stagnation, disengagement. Giving circles really, really, really help take down these three things. Giving circles really create community. Giving circles, the second slide about discussing and talking about values and your issue areas, you are engaging in discourse and debate. So you bring different, diverse perspectives to the table. A stagnation and disengagement. The research have seen that there are Giving Circle participants tend to give more and to volunteer more over the year. So we always said that, Giving Circle members are not your regular donors. They're your donors in steroids. 84% of Giving Circle are local. They are very educated. They engage in discussion about funding recipients and issue areas. They create real relationships with their nonprofit partners. They're connected. They are organized. And they, a Giving Circle, think about a Giving Circle as a mini civic engagement incubator. You get, those queen bees in your community. You get the PTA moms, the people that are ready to roll up the sleeves and really take action. So these are the people in your backyard, members in your community who are more oftentimes, local and care about local issues. So I want to give you an example in California. I spent 8 years working with the Latino Community Foundation, and I created the Latino Giving Circle Network, that now it's the largest Latino donor network in the country. We started with one Giving Circle, 14 women, and grew to more than 20 Giving Circles with 500 people in across the state. They have invested $1.7 million, about to hit the 2 million in the next couple of months. These are people from their 20s to their 70s giving $1,000 a year. Actually, they don't, we don't call it $1,000 because it sounds too big. We call it the $84 a month, less than $3 a day, less than your Starbucks people. That's how you involve people in this. The amazing impact that this network of giving circles has had in the grassroots Latino nonprofits of California has been huge. The majority of the nonprofits funded by the Giving Circle network are nonprofits that have less than $500,000 budgets. A lot of them less than $250,000 in a budget. These nonprofits were not visible to traditional philanthropy. And by being supported by a Giving Circle, they have now this kind of seal of approval, right? And they can go and they can go with a bigger funder saying, the Latino Giving Circle network has been funding us for the last 3 years. So think of a Giving Circle like that step in between. You have your individual donors, then you have your corporate donors and your foundations. The Giving Circles are in between your individual donors and your corporate donors. And each of them has a network. Each of them is an individual donor, but each of them has many doors that can open to you. So we're talking here. I'm going to close my slides. Okay. So we're talking here about collaboration, how you as nonprofit leaders influence the local community, how you can influence the local philanthropists into stop doing charity and be vehicles of change. Because we always said that, Giving Circles are not about charity, are about change. So how can you as a group of Maryland-based nonprofits what can you do together to step up this transformation? And we're going to go back into the little rooms. So again, this is with your personal hat and your nonprofit leader hat. How can you as a person and as a powerful nonprofit leader be part of a movement like this? What can you do together to kickstart this movement in your community? So think about the barriers. How can you break those barriers? Brainstorm who are the players that need to come together. And as in pure Giving Circle fashion, the collective is more powerful than one person. So you have the opportunity now to share ideas with other incredible leaders like you. You're in the perfect, space right now. We're in a collaborative space. So let's, think about the answers of the first, Jamboard, right? Leaning into your answers. What does let's think about what does a vibrant, civically engaged community look like? What can you do to create this transformation of people? So we're going to back into the breakout rooms. How many people do we have? Maybe we can just stay here.
Right. We only have 14 participants. Want to stay in the main room?
Yeah.
Let's stay in the main room. I'm going to put the Jamboard and we're going to brainstorm here. Yeah. Please feel free to unmute yourself and just,
I was just about to say that, Sarah. I think that, yes, while we're jotting down responses and you guys are live in the chat, I've seen Caprice and Anya already be sharing ideas about and talking about collaboration, which makes us so happy. Like my heart is thrilled. But any questions that y'all have about what Sarah and I have shared about Giving Circles, about the movement, about just anything, we're here. And it's just a small group for us to discuss those. So please feel free to ask us anything. And we'll continue to monitor the chat and just and talk through the responses that you guys are sharing on the Jamboard. So yep, and the link is in the chat, so that's perfect.
Is everybody in the well, I see a lot of people in the Jamboard. Okay. So let's start brainstorming. And if you cannot use the Jamboard for any reason, just unmute yourself, tell us what you're thinking, and we can put it there. Support community food gardens. I love it.
Me too. I love that too, Sarah.
So I'm thinking, like, imagine, you know, if in a few months, what we are all, you know, or almost all vaccinated, and we can go back out. Imagine if a group of you just get together and talk maybe with your community foundation to host a session about giving circles, and you all invite all of your, you know, stakeholders. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's just putting the seed there. I'm telling you, the moment people start getting involved, giving circles is kind of addictive. Like you know, I know people that are part of 4 or 5 different giving circles. So imagine if that there can be a giving circle created around health, around environmental justice, around, you know, we're seeing a lot about the children, right? So maybe, you know, there's something about early childhood education, but these giving circles will get together to support all the nonprofit ecosystem.
I love this comment about the fact that everyone in the community knows what needs others have outside their world. That's so very important. And as we were talking through the steps of the Giving Circle, that discuss piece, that's exactly what we do as within the Giving Circles, is that we dig deep and talk about the issues. And so it becomes a learning opportunity for all involved, for us to kind of get out of those, you know, those pockets, those silos that we often live in. And so, and, you know, just speaking of heritage with our Giving Circle here in Dallas, you know, here in Dallas, it's very segregated. Like we have, like, you know, in Southern Dallas here, it's like more of like Black and brown communities versus up north. It's mostly like the, you know, white community, affluent or whatnot. And so we have women that live up north that, you know, in those conversations, as we're talking about the issues, or we're sharing things about the issues that they would not have known of had they not joined Heritage and things like that. And so, yes, that opens, that Giving Circles provide that opportunity for folks to connect in that way, in very safe, real places, which I really enjoy and most people appreciate about Giving Circles. So this is good.
Any questions that you guys have about the model, about
I can't it's Rosanna. Can you hear me? I can't figure out how to get onto the board, so I'll just speak. I think that along the same lines as the person said about creating community gardens in our area, cleaning up the bay environment is really huge here in Maryland. You know, pulling people together to do that, so that it's not just money, what you guys were talking about earlier. It's not just money that we're doing.
Thank you, Rosanna. Yes. Yes, you know, in Giving Circles, we talked about the 5 T's, right? It's time, talent, treasure, testimony, and ties, right? So ties is like, you know, what doors can you open to your nonprofit partners? Oh, we have there was a sticky that disappeared, and disappeared. This one here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was Anya's comments. I just added that.
Daryl, I saw that you had a question about implicit bias. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Hi, Daryl.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you,
Yes,
Daryl.
I'm actually I'm a high school teacher, so I'm teaching remotely while I'm on this webinar, so I stepped out for a moment. So implicit bias is just basically, I've had a couple of scenarios that have occurred with starting up my nonprofit. My nonprofit is actually being funded through my National Honor Society. And it was actually my school that implied this implicit bias towards me. I was told by the grantor to reach out to my school and let them know this amazing grant project that I was a part of, and just any connections or resources they could provide for us would be great, right? And the response was, we don't give out money. And I never asked for money. I just asked for whatever resources and connections could provide, even the support from my school for the project. So I noticed that implicit bias goes in how some people select who they want to fund and who they don't.
Yeah.
So that was more or less about the question is, how do we get past that implicit bias so that people can actually see our purpose and compassion?
Yes. Thank you, Daryl. It's yeah, what you're touching on that point is extremely real, right? Every day. And I think what we did back at the Latino Community Foundation, and actually with my first giving circle in Dallas, was exactly that. We said we're going to demonstrate everyone here that we are walking the talk, right? So we had the community supporting, like the community doing a lot of the work, and showing funders that we had a skin in the game. I think it's unfortunately it's a long way that we had to do as communities of colors to educate a lot of funders, and find those allies in the funding world that are being more open and less biased towards us. I agree with you. It's like, they told you, well, if we don't give out money, well, you're not asking for money, right? So I would say just be tenacious, and maybe you can go back and say, well, it's I don't need money. I just need, some resource, some ideas, some brainstorm. They always said, and this is kind of on my whole career, that when you need money, ask for advice. When you need advice, ask for money. So asking for advice goes a long way. Try to involve people as your advisors, as your mentors, and that way when people get more involved in your mission and they understand what you're doing better, they will then you fold them into us funders. Any comments that the audience has for Daryl about implicit bias?
Sarah, this is Taj.
Hi, Taj.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Pleasure to be here. I'm sorry I gotta comment and drop off because I teach at 11 and it's 11. But as it relates to what Daryl is talking about, just to give you some perspective on the county, if you have not received that, Charles County was a predominantly Caucasian community for quite some time, and it has grown and transitioned into a minority now. So I think it's just a matter of coming together. We have to come together to provide that clarity to a county that's never really served us at the level that we're here now, and talk about the true needs of the minority community so they can understand how to serve us and support us in the way that we need. So I just wanted to add that too as well.
Thank you so much, Taj. And this is perfect, and I'm going to put it here. Any other questions or comments?
Sarah, there was a question in the chat about donations, about if giving circles are tax deductible. Maybe you can touch on that.
Yes, sure. So yes and no, I mean, it depends. So, tax donations from a given circle are totally tax deductible if they go to a nonprofit organization, right? So giving circles, we always said that if one giving circle, one giving circle, because they're so different. But some giving circles are very informal, and maybe I am with a group of 10 friends, and maybe everybody, we decide on the nonprofit that we want to support, and each of us writes a check to that nonprofit. So that nonprofit is going to send each of us a tax deductible receipt, right? I could be collecting all the money on my Venmo account, and I am writing a check to the nonprofit. So I'm the only one getting the tax deduction there. A lot of giving circles that are more sophisticated, they are hosted by a host institution that can be a community foundation, a Jewish federation, a big nonprofit. So they are using kind of, they're fiscally sponsored by someone, right? So this host institution collects the money and distributes the grants. There's also an amazing, great platform around, and let me see, I'm going to show it to you here, people. It's called grapevine.org, and it's a tech platform for giving circles. Let me share this screen. So it's free for giving circles. So for example, let's see, you can see this giving circle here. Let me click on this one to see if it's a good example. So you see this giving circle here, 100 Women Who Care Tallahassee. You have the mission of the giving circle. It looks like a Facebook group, so people can interact with each other. They can vote for the nonprofits that they want to support, and they collect their donations here. So this platform is connected to Candid, the big database of nonprofits. So Giving Circle members sent out their donations through Grapevine, and then Grapevine sends the money to the nonprofits. And each Giving Circle member gets a tax deductible receipt. And all the money goes to the nonprofit. So the way Grapevine gets supported is by tips. So if I'm making a donation, the platform is going to ask me if I want to leave a tip. And I can leave a tip or not leave a tip. But especially now in the virtual world, a lot of giving circles are moving to these kinds of platforms because it's just easy. It's easy to just handle all the money. However, for example, in the Asia Women's Giving Circle, they support some individuals, right? They support some women artists and activists. If you are giving to an individual, then that donation is not tax deductible, unless you are doing it through a host institution. I don't know if I explained myself. Yeah, okay.
That was my question, and you did. Thank you.
Oh, great. Any other questions about the model? So I just wanted to say that, we are here for you. All the resources on Philanthropy Together are free for you. We are, we were, brainstorming with Michelle that maybe we have a Giving Circle incubator that is called Launchpad. So, talking about maybe in a couple of months, you have this meeting with a lot of people, you involve, your neighbors, your colleagues, and 20 of those people decide that they want to go ahead and launch a Giving Circle. We can support you on that. We can give you, help you kickstart Giving Circles in Maryland. We had our Giving Circle incubator Launchpad in Vermont in the fall to kickstart 12 Giving Circles just in Vermont. So it was very, powerful to hear from people from the same community, the different ideas that they had. They were brainstorming with each other. So Launchpad is a 5-week interactive training that we can give to all of you. Again, it's free. We have this website. I don't know, Ty, if you can put the link in the chat. So it's whatisagivingcircle.com, which is very basic to explain the model, because a lot of times it's difficult to explain it, and some people think like, that sounds like a pyramid scam. So this website will tell you exactly how the model works. It has examples of different giving circles. We are also putting together communities of practice. So last year we had a community of practice around racial equity. So how do you embed racial equity in the culture of your giving circle, in your grant making, how you yield power and with your community. We're going to have the racial equity community of practice again this year. For Launchpad, you know, thinking even before of having Launchpad in your community, our Launchpad for you next cohort starts on March 16. The application is due on March 5th. If any of you, you know, we inspire you to maybe start a giving circle with some of your friends or your neighbors. You know, we invite you to join us. And then, you know, last but not least, we're putting together a big summit, a collective giving summit in May, the We Give Summit, and we will send information to all of you. We will post it on in the chat and also the documents. We have 9 days, about 40 hours of content about collective giving, and we're going to be talking about, you know, we have skill building workshops. We're talking about different issue areas: environmental justice, women and girls, racial equity, youth, advocacy, and so we invite you to be part of that too. Ty, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to say. I know we're getting to the time, and we want to not forget for you to fill out the survey. There are surveys, and maybe Patty, you can tell us where surveys about the conference. But Ty, I don't know if you want to say anything else.
Yes, Sarah, you said it all. I just want to, I shared all of the resources that Sarah has mentioned today. So just check the chat. There's whatisagivingcircle.com there. We have, as she mentioned, about Launchpad applications are open through March 5th. And so we'll love for you to be a part of this training that can help you start, train you exactly on the model that we shared today on how you can start a giving circle. And so hopefully y'all will consider that. And just grateful. I just want to just wish everyone a happy Black History Month in a year that we're gathering looks so different, right? It looks so different now. We are very grateful just to have this moment with all of you and just to be able to spend time virtually and just to learn about how we can transform our communities together in this way through giving circles. So we're here to support you and thank you for the opportunity to speak and be here with you today.